Okay, what we were doing, where we left off last time, was the pertaining to, of course, the wheel of life. The wheel of life, and then we related wheel of life with Nagarjuna's text, Mula Madhyama Karika, and from the Mula Madhyama Karika, the text, the passage, the stanza which reads, the ceasing of karmas and afflictions leads to nirvana. Karmas and afflictions arise from inappropriate attention, which in turn arises from elaboration of self-grasping ignorance. Elaborations of self-grasping ignorance ceases by the wisdom of emptiness. Okay, this is what we learned. And in this connection, what we learned is we learned 5 points. 5 points, how the miseries that we go through, they're nothing but the results of the contaminated karmas. Point 1 is miseries. Point 2 is contaminated karmas. And the contaminated karmas, they arise from afflictions. Number 3. The afflictions arise from inappropriate attention. Number 4. Then the inappropriate attention arises from self-grasping ignorance. 4. These are the 5 points. So these are the 5 points which we learned. And then what we did was that of course the miseries which are so evident, sickness, aging, death, depression, tension, stress, and the anguish and so forth. So these are the miseries which nobody likes to experience. And if we don't want to experience them, then we need to know where they come from and how to get rid of these causes. Where they come from contaminated karma. So last time we vaguely learned about, we learned about how to tackle the particularly negative karmas, 10 non-virtuous karmas, right? So identifying what the 10 non-virtuous karmas are, and then how to get away from the 10 non-virtuous karmas. So this is the most practical part. This is the most practical part where to get rid of the contaminated karma. This is what we can do. We can do, of course. Say today we're involved with like 80% of the 10 non-virtuous karmas, and then we learn about it, and tomorrow we expect ourselves to be 100% pure. That we cannot expect. So in whatever capacity that we can put effort, try as much to take steps to get away from the 10 non-virtuous karmas. Okay, this is what we learned. 1. So this is the one thing which we can most effectively do of the 3. Contaminated karmas, afflictions, and then the root, ignorance. Of these 3, what is that thing which we can most effectively tackle or get rid of are the contaminated karmas, particularly non-virtuous contaminated karmas. Okay. Then next what we did was we did the afflictions, how to tackle the afflictions. And afflictions, what we learned is that afflictions, there are 3 broad families of afflictions, which means all our actions, physical, verbal, and mental. And particularly the physical and verbal, which creates all the problems. These are nothing but the manifestations of what's going in your own mind. Say the same gesture of greeting somebody, good morning, right? Say same gesture, how you greet, one roughly, one very gently. So why one comes out so rough and why the other comes out as very gentle? That is determined by your thinking, thought process. So therefore, these thought processes which are responsible for making you come out with a very aggressive physical, verbal actions. These thought processes are known as the afflictions. So technically we define the afflictions as the mental factor, the presence of which disturbs our mind. Say, when we are angry, what is the mental state like? How many of us have the experience of anger? And how many of you don't know what anger is? Huh? How many of you know experience of anger? Okay, we all have the experience of anger, right? So we have this experience of anger. So when the anger grabs you, what is the feeling like? You're very pleasant, peaceful, calm. The calmness disappears. Mental peace disappears instantly, right? And then you don't feel like eating. You don't feel like even talking to somebody who loves you so much, right? So all these are the clear indication of how we are easily disturbed by anger. So likewise the attachment. Attachment will disturb our mind. Our mind, which is otherwise very calm, peaceful, with attachment, it disturbs the mind, right? So this particularly, say when we get a little experience of what emptiness is, or let's say, you're with somebody who is very, say, controlled, physically, verbally, mentally, very matured, controlled and peaceful, not affected by external factors easily, very mature. Sometimes what happens is you be with such person, you feel also like you become like a very small child. Do you see? Sometimes does it happen? When you're with somebody who's very matured, right? So I think that I'm someone, but then you'll be with that person, very mature, not affected by external factors easily, can handle things very tactfully. You feel that whatever you do is so very gross and very immature. Okay, whereas you're with someone who's less mature than you feel that I'm so mature, right? This is how our mind works. Okay, so therefore the point is that at times it would be good if you deliberately go with people who are extremely matured in terms of compassion, matured in terms of thinking, matured in terms of the knowledge. Say you say one word, that person understands 2-3 things what are you thinking behind. For example, His Holiness, when he says one line, right, to you, one line, anything what he's sharing, one line, his thinking is so fast, 2-3 things behind what you are about to think, right? He already knows what you're thinking, what you will think. Not necessarily clairvoyance, it is the sharpness training, right? Okay, so this is, and oftentimes, what ignorance is bliss. Right? You don't know, all these things, and then he still ask you something, and you think that he's very serious asking, okay, so he's almost doesn't know this. I know, so you give the answer. Actually, his own thinking is far beyond 2, 3, 4 things behind what you're thinking, right? So therefore, this is sometimes ignorance is bliss. Whereas if you're also equally sharp, then you can see that his own is so fast. His thinking is 4 or 5 times faster than yours, right? Whereas if you're not that fast, you think that, oh wow, I have many things to offer to His Holiness, right? Okay, so the point is, what I'm saying is that our mind, our thinking, wrong thinking, first thing this wrong thinking does is disturb your mind. Then what it makes you to do is, it comes out, manifest in the form of physical and verbal expressions, which are so corrosive. And somebody who is otherwise physically so nice, physically very beautiful, attractive, very smart, beautiful, whatever, when one is in the midst of the anger, in the peak of the anger, the beauty disappears instantly. The smartness disappears instantly. This is a fact, right? So what it does, first thing that it does, it steals your peace of mind. Then what it does is that it makes you look so unattractive, so aggressive in the eyes of other people. The moment they see that, nobody will be close. Even the dogs will leave you, right? When they see, even the dogs, the cats, even the animals, they sense that there's some disturbance in your mind. Because of anger, they won't leave you, right? Okay, so this is known as the afflictions. Disturbing emotions within yourself, afflictions. And these afflictions, how many kinds are there? Innumerable millions and trillions of kinds are there, varying in the difference, varying in the shades of the manifestation. So all these millions of versions of the afflictions, they all can be grouped into three families: attachment, aversion, and ignorance. So in other words, all these can be grouped into three categories in ways of where your mind is involuntarily pulled by the object. Where your mind, for example, say I'm diabetic. Let's say I'm diabetic, and then it has been like 6 months that I never saw Coca-Cola, and suddenly Coca-Cola came next to my table, on my table, right? My eyes just pulled by the Coca-Cola. I know I'm very badly diabetic, and then I cannot restrain from Coca-Cola. This is what makes your hand go to Coca-Cola? A thinking inside. What kind of thinking? Oh, Coca-Cola is terrible, Coca-Cola. Is that thinking that pulls your mind? No, I like it. So this mind involuntarily pulled by the Coca-Cola, by the object. So there's one disturbing emotion which takes the form where the mind is involuntarily pulled by the object. This is one class. And the class is, say, I'm expecting, say on my birthday, I'm expecting my mother okay, or somebody to give me a very good thing, iPhone X. I expect my mother to give me iPhone X as my birthday gift. And then mother comes with a packet. And I'm so excited, it must be iPhone X. I've been always telling about her about my iPhone X. And finally I open it, I saw that there's small cheesecake instead of iPhone X, right? Okay, what happens? Wow, or what is your reaction? No, right? So your mind is pushed by the gift. It's not a pleasant gift. It's not the gift that you're expecting. So your mind is pushed. So one is your mind is pulled by the object. One is your mind is pushed by the object. Right? Okay. So say maybe for young boys and girls, you may be expecting a shirt or pant or whatever, Levi's. And your mother or somebody, your very close one's father, brought you say package, birthday gift, and this is not actually Levi's. This is from a local, Sarojini market. Right from a Sarojini market, get it. And you open it, you're expecting it's a Levi's. It's not at all Levi's, it's from Sarojini market. Right, 200 rupees. Then you become so upset, so angry, so your mind is pushed by the object. Right? Okay, one, your mind is pulled by the object, involuntary pull. Number two, your mind is involuntarily pushed by the object. Two classes. Both disturb your mind. Your mind, okay, today I'll have a rest. Today I'll have a good rest, it's a weekend. Good rest. And your friend comes, right? You're such a boring boy, boring girl. Today's weekend. Let's go for nightclub, right? No, I want to take a good rest. No, come. Nightclub, come, right? Okay. right? And then slowly you become more and more excited. You become more and more excited, right? So there, what happened to this peace of mind? Okay, today I'll have a peace of mind. I'll have a good rest. I'll relax. What happened to that? It's disturbed by the attachment pull. So attachment, the moment your mind is involuntarily pulled, your mind cannot stay relaxed. Stay relaxed because something is pulling you. That is loss of freedom. Then the mind is pushed. You want to stay relaxed and calm, and the object pushes you. That is aversion, right? Again, loss of freedom. You want to stay relaxed, not being pushed, and then the object pushes you. That is the loss of freedom. Loss of freedom is misery. You getting it? So therefore, misery is disturbance, suffering. So therefore, we see that the mental disturbance can take these two forms. One is involuntary pulled and involuntary pushed. So these two things happen because of the underlying the ground. What is the underlying ground? The ground is the ignorance. You don't see the reality. If you see the reality as they are, then nothing can pull you, nothing can push you. Involuntary pull and push stops. So what is the ground? What is the fabric, the ground for this involuntary pull and push is the ignorance. So all mental disturbance can be in the form of these three forms. One is involuntary pull, which is attachment. Other one is involuntary push, which is aversion. And number three is ignorance. So these are the three classes, these are the three families of afflictions, right? Okay, and the last time we were also mentioning the 6 root afflictions. You remember? So these three plus pride or arrogance, conceit, same. Pride, arrogance, conceit, same. And then afflictive doubt, and then what else? Then afflictive view. 3. Okay. How to tackle these 3? The first 3 we already learned. For the attachment, we think about the demerits, the drawbacks of the object. Drawbacks of the object. See the object more closely to know the demerits of the object. Right? Demerits of the object. This is a very general presentation. How to cut the attachment to merits of the object, and we also shared about the meditation on the impurities of the other side, gender attraction, and so forth. And you say attraction to beautiful objects. Then we think about impermanence, meditate on impermanence of the object, and the negative side. For example, say beautiful flowers. The human beings are all like beautiful flowers, 100%. Human beings are all like beautiful flowers, right? Youth, beautiful flowers. Beautiful flowers, however beautiful a flower might be, it's a matter of few days. In few days, it will never remain the same, right? Say our complexion, our hairs, and then even the physique, even the posture, right? All these things invariably change. So our job is just to say, right? Just to say, okay, it happened. For example, say, okay, let's say, last time I told you, there was some lump came on this side, right? The gum, upper gum. So it happened. Nobody wants this lump at the gum, right? So it happened. So therefore, this is our body. That if you're a billionaire, you are the most powerful person, the richest person, or the youngest person, whatever, right? It happened. So we don't have the freedom not to happen, not to have these things happen to us. So if you reflect on these areas, our attachment will be cut down. And then, okay, so this is about what we discussed earlier. Then for the aversion, particularly towards aversions, generally speaking, 80% of the aversion is towards the human beings and towards the animals and so forth. So there we meditate on compassion. And for the compassion, I mentioned last time that the most effective of the various methods, various techniques to practice compassion, there are two techniques which are most efficient. If you do these two practices, you will see the wonder. If you don't do these two practices, no matter how compassionate you are by birth, these wonders will not come to you. These wonders of, say, you think about any other sentient being, what we call as even enemies, just other sentient beings, right? Say how our innate mind works. How our innate mind works is very selfish. It's not that compassionate, right? Selfish. How? Just to give you one example, so some of you already know that. Day one, we were born on this earth. How many were born? How many you had the experience of day one we were born on this earth? We all had this experience, right? We all had this experience of day one we were born. Day one we were born, how many of you cried? Say, how many of you cried and how many of you did not cry? Huh? Day one we were born. If you don't cry, the doctors or somebody will slap you, right? To make you cry. With crying, what happens? Your lungs expand. You know that? Okay, so therefore they will make you cry by hitting you, slapping you. Okay, so you cried. And how many cried saying that, oh, the other baby is not getting milk. Please feed the other baby milk with milk. Then you cry. How many did that? Or how many cried saying that, why are you hitting me? I want milk. How many cried like this? If not 100%, 99.999% of the people cried saying that I have a problem. Nobody cried saying the other baby had a problem. You're getting it? This is how we started our life. This is how. But we should not be feeling guilty of this reality. This is reality. This reality, know the reality, then on that basis, with this state, are you happy or not? We are not happy. Right? By being selfish, we are not happy. Now, is there alternative way whereby you do something else and you actually become happy? So this is what I meant by, say, the two methods, the practice of which actually give you a miracle. Not a miracle meaning that you can fly. This is not a connotation. Miracle meaning where, according to Charles Darwin's evolutionary theory, which is impossible that you can become somebody who's very unconditionally loving, caring towards all beings. According to Charles Darwin, this is impossible. Charles Darwin, evolution has gifted us with attachment, anger, jealousy, and all these things are given to us, fear and so forth. No unconditional love. Unconditional love means you don't know how to be afraid of others. Unconditional love means you don't know how to be angry towards others. If you don't know how to be angry towards others, you cannot defend yourself. This is Charles Darwin's evolutionary theory. Right? This, the Buddha said, and I personally would say that what Charles Darwin said is applicable to 99% of the species. 99% of the species. What he said is true. So 1% or 0.00001% of the people who can prove him wrong, who can say that this is not true. People who practice these two methods. They practice these two methods, they see that we don't need anger. Anger is not necessary. Anger is not a natural gift. Anger does not really help us to, get a genuine happiness. It does not really help us to defend ourselves. Although Charles Darwin did say this, that anger is a defensive measure for you. Only with anger, then you can shout at other people, and the other people will be afraid of you. They cannot take advantage of you. This is Charles Darwin's evolutionary theory. But the Buddha is saying the other way around. And yet what Charles Darwin said is applicable to 99.99% of the people. Look at just the people who don't practice these two methods, right? Anybody with whatever label that you might have, you don't practice these two things, this is how you're following what Charles Darwin said. That anger is there, attachment is there, fear is there, all these things, Charles Darwin said, these are the instincts given as the gift from your evolution. But Buddha said that we don't really, if you don't practice these two methods, if you don't practice the wisdom of emptiness, then what Charles Darwin said, you have to follow what he said. That to defend yourself, you need anger. To run away from the fear, you need fear. To run away from the threat, you need fear. To get what you want, you need attachment. This is what Charles Darwin said, and we have to follow this. Whereas the Buddha said that this is why this is applicable to the majority of people, but anybody who puts a little bit of effort to practice in a very systematic way, you don't need anger, right? What anger is supposed to bring, defend you, this can very effectively be accomplished by compassion. What attachment is supposed to bring to you, give you, that can very effectively be given to you by compassion. What fear is meant to take you away from the threats. This is very effectively done by compassion. This is what the Buddha said. Whereas with fear, attachment, aversion, not guaranteed whether you can effectively accomplish what you intend. For example, say with attachment, right? Okay, we all have the experience of attachment. With attachment, what happens? With the relationships, what a headache. So it's just just listening to the stories, seeing the people, unnecessary problem. You are just, you're voluntarily taking the suffering. You are taking the suffering unnecessarily. The first meeting I say people, okay, little digression, I'm sorry. First meeting is like, I give 100% of my time to you. You get 200 now. But before the meeting, you have only 100%. Now you get 200. 100 yours and 100 the other side. They give 100, right? Say, okay, I have a little headache, I want paracetamol, I have to get it from the hospital, from the pharmacy, which is a little far away. No, I'll go. Right? You get 100% plus 100%, 200. Then afterwards, after a while, then you lose 50%. You only have 50 now. Other person says, no, you go. If you say, you go. And then later on, even this 50% will go away. Right? With your children, 50% will go away. Right? So the point is, okay, this is not my business. The point is, they say what Charles Darwin said. What Charles Darwin said, that for ordinary people, this is the only way. Attachment, aversion, and fear. This is how we employ, right? But do they effectively give you what you want? Answer is no. It attracts more miseries, right? Whereas what the Buddha said, just try this, experiment this. What the Buddha said, right? Unconditional love. Oh yes, from tomorrow I'll practice unconditional love. No, just by saying it will not happen. We have to follow the steps. 7 steps. 7-fold cause-effect method to generate bodhicitta. 9 steps. The method of equalizing exchanges for others. Just follow these 2 steps very seriously. It will take time. Because then it takes time, Charles Darwin even could not imagine that this is possible. Right? Yeah, so therefore the Buddha said, it will take time. And then when you actually practice it, you see that your mind is forever at peace, happy, extremely calm, composed, and yet what attachment brings us, supposed to bring us, the conducive factors, conducive things that you require. All this you get very easily. And what fear is supposed to, what anger is supposed to defend yourself. To defend yourself, it does it so effectively, this compassion, right? When you're very compassionate with wisdom, enemies, they're easily subdued, right? Enemies will become your say your friends. Not only friends, very loyal friends who can really do a lot for you. So therefore, enemy gone. And then the fear is supposed to take you away from the threats. With compassion, in the first place, the fear will not arise in you. And then, say, sometimes in fear, what happens? In fear, if you encounter a tiger, in fear, the person can jump towards the tiger. The fear loses the person's capacity to think properly, jumps toward the tiger, right? So this is the fear which steals you, or which takes away your intelligence. So whereas lack of fear, you can think wisely, then you will know where to run properly. And then when the compassion becomes very intense, very high level, you don't even have to run away, right? Even the thinking of the threat of the person, of the animal, changes. For example, with the Saint Francis in the Christianity, Saint Francis of Assisi, right? All the animals, they come close to him. They are so happy. They feel such the sanctity. They feel such the sense of security, close to be with him. Even the wild animals, they take shelter with him. So with the story of the Buddha, mad elephant who was deliberately sent to destroy the Buddha and the monks, right? And everyone was so scared, they were all running for their lives. And the Buddha said, no need to run, just stop there, stay where you are. Buddha approached the elephant, and the elephant subdued and prostrated to the Buddha. Right? This is how, when your intense compassion really becomes intensified, you don't need fear. Forget about fear, the need for the fear. Your thinking, your compassion can actually change the other person's, other beings' thinking and become so friendly with you. So this is the power of compassion. Okay. So the measure, or the measure to counteract the aversion is the practice of compassion. Now for the compassion, as I said earlier, if you really want to be very successful in this practice, where you think of other people, right? Say you think of your near and dear ones, is fine. You think of your near and dear ones to be sick like this, then you go into trauma. You go into so much of anxiety, right? Whereas you think about other people going through the problems, not so much be affected. You're not really affected as much when you hear somebody else going through problems. Okay, this is because we don't have the unconditional love and affection. With the unconditional love and affection, what happens? Sense of concern is exponentially increasing. Sense of concern for others. Yet the pain is not there. This is incredibly beautiful practice. The pain is not there, pain within you is not there, yet the sense of concern is just exponentially increasing. It's so powerful. This is amazing. So usually the mundane affection, parents, children love and affection, and the husband-wife love and affection. So what about this love and affection? One is so precious. One, however tainted that is so precious, don't forget it. Say for a family, for a husband and wife. It's always better to live, happily rather than fighting all the time, right? Fighting all the time. Instead of that, okay, helping each other, assisting each other, sometimes singing together. It's fine, it's very good. Rather than fighting, scolding, shouting, what's the point, right? It's so adverse. It has so much of bad effect on the children. The parents, they behave like this, and the children, they are adversely affected by this gesture. So therefore, it's better. But other side, one, if you compare these two things, of course, being harmonious, being friendly, this is far, 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 far better than leading up, the non-harmonious fighting. Okay, now within this, even this part, being affectionate and loving, caring, again, there's a problem. The problem is when the other person goes through a little problem, the pain and anxiety increases within yourself. And particularly when you lose the other person, the pain is so acute, right? Again, this itself is, if somebody gives you the option, okay, you be with this person, or you're going to be her child, you'll be born as her child, and you will be so loving to each other, so mother and child, mother and son, mother and daughter, very affectionate to each other. Then eventually you'll be separated, and the pain is to be so acute. One, or you're not going to be born with this person, right? So there's very close bond, and then the pain, both will not be there. If you're given a choice, what will you choose? Huh? Don't be too emotional. Right? Sometimes people mix the emotion with the reality. The reality is that if you have freedom, where I don't have to go through any process, finally I don't have to go through all this acute pain, right? Then your mind just becoming insane, right? So I don't want that. Okay, so the point is, then you may think that, oh, if that is the case, then where is compassion? Where is love and affection? Okay, this is the key. Love and affection, there are two. The biased love and affection and the unbiased love and affection. Two. Unbiased love and affection can come to 99.9% of the people. It will come only through practice, not naturally. Unbiased compassion, which is also known as the unconditional love. It will come to us only through practice, not naturally. Maybe for a rare number of people, very rare number of people, this may be there. But 99.9% of people, this will not happen naturally. But if it doesn't happen naturally, don't feel demoralized. You practice and it will happen. Finding that it happens, that's more important, right? Now with the biased love and affection, the problem is that when the other person goes through problems, the pain that you go through is so excruciating. Whereas with the unbiased affection, this pain is not there, yet the sense of concern is just so intense. Sense of concern is so intense, but it's not accompanied by the pain. So what do you want? You want a sense of concern with pain, without pain? Huh? You want a sense of concern, the 60% sense of concern and 90% pain, or 90% sense of concern and 0% pain. What do you want? Not just 0%, 90% concern, which is very beautiful, and pain is very bad, with 0% pain. If you want that, we have to cultivate the unconditional love, the unbiased love and affection, right? Which is very possible to all of us. It's a matter of practice. If we practice, everybody can generate this mentality. And you have it, you get it, it's a wonder. It's also like you are in a paradise. You feel such a freedom. Freedom. And this, the pain, the anger, agitation, irritation, all stops. Okay. This is with the counteracting the aversion. Then we are doing the number 3 is what? Ignorance, how to deal with ignorance. So ignorance comes under two headings. One under the category of the three afflictions, and one in the form of the ignorance as the root of all afflictions. So these two, so we will do that. We will do that the way we will do that as the okay. So we will do that the both. Okay, let me first do it like this. Okay, this ignorance. Ignorance. If we think of the four seals, all composite things impermanent. What is next? We're not done. Okay, so the ignorance, there are so many kinds of ignorance, and so what we're going to do here is we're going to do a very simple way of understanding. Okay, three kinds of ignorance, and how to get rid of the three kinds of ignorance, right? With the three kinds of ignorance, how we are trapped into suffering, unnecessary suffering because of these three kinds of ignorance, and getting rid of these three kinds of ignorance, it is such a relief. Okay, the first one, ignorance of seeing impermanent phenomena as permanent. Ignorance which misconceives impermanent phenomena as permanent. Number two, ignorance which misconceives miseries as happiness. Ignorance which misconceives miseries as happiness. Then number three, ignorance which misconceives the selfless phenomena to be of selfhood nature. Which misconceives the selfless phenomena to be of selfhood nature. Okay, ignorance which misconceives impermanent phenomena as permanent, ignorance which misconceives miseries as happiness, and ignorance which misconceives selfless phenomena as of selfhood nature. Okay, we're going to go through these three, and we will go a little more detail with the third one, which is the selfhood, the selfless nature as of selfhood nature. Okay, first one, impermanence. Okay, the Buddha indicated that all composite things are impermanent. All composite things are impermanent, which means anything which is composed of parts, or anything which is composed of atoms, anything which is composed of the temporal segments, like mind. Temporal segments like mind, say the first moment of the mind, the mind of 2015, 16, 17, 18, these are temporal segments of the mind. Within 2018, January, February, March, April, May, and then within the month of September, the 1st September, 2nd, 3rd, within the 1st September, day, night, within the day, say so 24 hours, then within the first hour, 60 minutes, so like this, these are the segments, temporal segments. And then with the physical body, we have the directional parts, directional components, okay, like atoms. Okay, so anything which is composed of these two things should necessarily be impermanent in nature. Whereas how we behave, for example, say, okay, not just you, all of us, including myself, how we behave, or what is our attitude, what is our thinking, Our thinking is actually, while reality is the composite phenomena, they are impermanent. In our day-to-day life, we view many of these things as permanent, right? We view many of these things as permanent. Okay, let's say, for example, okay, say, recently when I was in Singapore, I have a friend. My friend, he is a very big, not a big, a figure, meaning somebody who is like a CEO of a company. And the mobile he gives is a very simple mobile. Very simple mobile, right? I don't mean to, okay, it has nothing to what, there's implication, that's not what I'm saying, right? There's no implication, nothing personal. Okay, so I asked him, wow, it's amazing, you have a very simple mobile. And he said, because of course he has a CEO mindset, right? Very practical. He said, nowadays, mobile job is for communication, and then don't expect the mobile to last more than 1 or 2 years. This is what he said, right? Even if it is iPhone X, still will not last long. And then what happens? The company will bring up with new updates. If you don't update them, the mobile becomes useless. And then sometimes, in worst cases, right, you try to update, machine is too old that it cannot be updated. You have to change the machine, right? Although you paid a huge amount, there's no point. In the olden times, if you buy a very good tape recorder, meaning 50 years ago, so many of us, we are not born, right? Young, so you have no idea what is that original tape recorder is. You don't have ideas, right? Younger ones. Okay, you don't have this idea. So this tape recorder, if you buy a very good one, you don't have to worry about updates. You don't have to worry, right? If you pay more, you get a better one, it lasts you the next 50 years, guaranteed, right? Even if there's a little problem there, the people will fix it, repair it. Nowadays, no. This machine is an old one, so this will not work with this. It cannot, what is the technical term? It's not compatible with this one. Number is that it cannot, this one word, I forgot it. Okay, it hangs, right? Okay, so all these problems are there. So he said that don't expect the mobiles, these things, it is their job. But to market it, to advertise it, it is their job. To give the impression as though like this will last you for the next 50 years. But in actuality, this is just for 2 years or 1 year, maximum 2 years. He said it. And I thought it's very true. It's very true. So whereas we think of it as permanent. We think of it as permanent, that it will last long. But in actuality, even for 2 years, if it lasts for 2 years, it's very good, right? But how much we pay is so huge amount, right? And the first time when I heard about iPhone 6 Plus, I had no idea about these things. And my friend was updating me with this, updating me about iPhone 6, iPhone 6 Plus, iPhone 7. He told me about iPhone 6. He said that in the market, people sleep on the street to get the first piece or second piece. Tomorrow's the next day's launch piece. To get it, they sleep on the street the whole night. People in the queue, they sleep. I said that this they will not do even to have the darshan of the Guru. They will not sleep in the street. So listen, mobile is amazing. It's much more than the gurus, right? Okay, so what I'm saying is that this is how the mentality. First of all, these people are expert from these markets. They're expert to do marketing, advertising. They're expert on this. They advertise to give you such impression that this can do everything, and this will last for the next 20 years, 30 years. This impression they will give you. They will never give you that it will last only 2 years. If it has like this, nobody will buy this. Right? So therefore, the point is that and after 1 year, what happens? It crashes. It's not working like this. It's not working like that. It hangs. Right? It's not compatible with this. So all these problems are there. Then you realize. Then you become upset. Why do you upset? Why you become upset? Because this was not what you were expecting before. You were expecting it to be very smoothly running for the next 10 years, 20 years. Now you discover that it's not a fact. So you become upset. This upset is a misery. This misery is because of the earlier belief that it is a permanent. So viewing impermanent phenomena as permanent is the cause, this ignorance is a cause of many of our miseries. Right? And then one of my teachers, amazing. What he said was that we are all concerned about his health. We are all concerned about his health, and I was expressing my concern for his health on the phone. So why not to have treatment from this hospital like this and so forth. And then he was talking very nicely to me, and so one thing is with his knees. He has knee problem, so much knee pain. And then I was giving suggestions like this. Then he was saying, okay, this is okay, don't worry, it's okay. And then finally he takes me to one teaching. He said that, the one he said was that, but this doctor was telling me that with age, the ligaments, they are worn out, and naturally the two bones, they touch. When they touch with the weight, you feel the pain. This is the age, and I'm already in my 80s. Right? And he is not at all worried, concerned about this. He accepts that this is what is problem. I'm already of this age. So what to worry? Instead, he is asking me not to worry over his health. Amazing, right? This is such a big lesson for us. Otherwise, we have to consult somebody else, right? Consult somebody else who's worrying about his or her own health. This is amazing. And then, on another occasion, again with some help, and then I was again giving suggestions to take treatment from this side, that side, this side. And he said yes. And finally, he concluded by saying that that I'm already in my late 80s. I'm already in my late 80s, right? He said it, and in a way, what he's saying is that we have to accept the reality. This is what he's saying, right? And I'm not telling him, he's telling me. Right? This is amazing. So just imagine my teacher and somebody of his age, right? Of his age, and both of them have the same problem. And my teacher, oh no, this is the age, this is the lifespan, this is the lifespan of the body, the whole body. And then the other person who's not aware of these things, who will be more agitated? There's the other person. So finally, if we know that all composite things are impermanent, that even the fact that I'm born with this body, which has a lifespan, right? If you know this, if you're aware of this, if you meditate on this on a daily basis, right? Then when actually the time comes, it's not a problem. No, you're not mental problem. When you are not mentally disturbed, there your mind can be at very peace to prepare yourself very meaningfully, which 99% of the people cannot do, very meaningfully of your journey to next life. Very meaningfully, right? Perhaps better than this life. Okay, so these are the things reflecting the, say, failure to see the reality, and it says seeing the impermanent phenomena as permanent, then the miseries, unnecessary miseries arise, and then seeing the impermanent phenomena as impermanent, then the unnecessary miseries all will cut, and instead your mind will be composed and at peace. When the mind is at peace and composed, then you can think. You can think of your, making greater meaning out of the lifespan that you have now. It's amazingly great practice. This is number one. Number two is seeing the miseries, misconception, or the ignorance misconceiving miseries as happiness. Number two. Okay. So this is something, again, another point that we need to keep in mind. We need to really keep in mind, and seeing miseries as happiness. So miseries happening. Miseries, there are three kinds. Miseries, there are three kinds. Or sufferings, there are three kinds. Also, which we already did that, right, before, in the beginning of this class, this course. Say suffering of change, and pervasive condition suffering. Three. Right? Okay. So suffering, nobody will see their suffering as happiness. Nobody. Suffering, nobody will take suffering as happiness, which means the manifest suffering, headache, hunger, thirst, so forth, nobody will misconceive that as happiness. If that can be done, then that's amazing, right? Then nobody will complain. All complaints are coming 99% because of experiencing, not being able to accept the suffering, the evident suffering, right? Okay, this is not what we're talking about. We are talking about particularly number two and number three. Number two, suffering change. Number three, what is number three? Pervasive conditioned suffering. And sometimes it is abbreviated as conditioned suffering. Conditioned suffering or pervasive conditioned suffering. Okay, so these two things. Number two, which is the suffering change. Okay, I don't want to go into too detail with this. Suffering change referring to what? What do you understand by suffering change? Anyone? What do you understand by suffering change? Anyone? Yes?
Which seems like it's something like good, but in the long term, I remember the example, the scenario which you created, like if there is someone is in the prison and if he's too much involved in the
Okay, I think we need to speak through the mic.
I think if I remember, you created that scenario where there are two prisoners in the prison, and one is constantly being reminded about that he's going to die, about his death sentence, but the other is being very happy and he's having all the luxuries there. So the one who is having all the luxuries in the prisons he'll forget about the
being in prison.
And so what appears to be like a relief in the long term will eventually, because he will not work to
get out of this suffering. Very good. To get out of the prison. Very good. Okay, anyone else? Yes. Mike.
You also gave the example of momos and how it may be attractive to it, but then after a point it's a kind of superficial attraction, because when you eat, you can't keep eating it and continue. After a point it will make you sick.
Very good. Okay, by the way, there are many of you who did not get the chance to listen to the earlier teachings here. Say, how many of you enjoy momos? Raise your hands. Okay, also. Okay, let's say, those of you who do not know what momo is, you must ask somebody else. Right? Okay, you must know this. Okay, momos. Then let's say, enjoy momo is, okay, eating momo, is it enjoyable or this is the burden? Enjoy is enjoyment. Very good. Okay. Okay, if you really enjoy it, I'll give you momos on your birthday. Right? Okay, I'll give you the 100 pieces of momos on your birthday. You take the first momo, it's delicious, very delicious. Second, fine. Third, fourth, fifth, sixth. Maybe the girls may say, okay, now finish. The boys may say, yes, I'm more. Okay. Then the boys, 7, 8, 10, 15, 20, 50, 60 boys will say, okay, now enough. And maybe 1 or 2 boys will say, okay, I want more. Then the 40, 50, then everybody will say, enough now. Okay, why do you say enough? It's very delicious. Huh? Now you don't feel the taste. You feel like throwing up. Right? For the girls, after 6 or 7, maybe some girls may eat 20s. It doesn't matter, right? 6 or 7, whatever you may take. Then say, I give you another extra 5 pieces. No, please. It makes me throw up. Okay. Which momo is more delicious? The first one or the 50th one? First one. Keep the first one last. Keep the first one last, which is more delicious. You will keep the last, right? You eat the first 49, almost on the verge to throw up, then you take the first one, which is more delicious. Same, right? Whether it's the first one you keep it, you eat the first time or you eat the last time. There's no difference. Last time you ate it, it make you throw up. It's the same. So therefore, momo per se is not the happiness. It's not the joy. Right? If the momo per se is giving you the joy, it should give you joy, whether it's the first one or the 50th one, it should give you joy at all times. So the momo per se is the same, but at one time you feel the joy, at one time you feel it as the burden. Right? Okay, so this is an incredibly beautiful practice. So of course, the more detailed, the subtle explanations, for that we have to study what is known as the 5 omnipresent mental factors, how the mind works, right? So that I'm not going to go into this at this point. We will, in any ways, we will study a little bit about the psychology later on. Okay, so the point is that, say, in other words, what is suffering change? Suffering change. First, we have to know some kind of meaning as to what does it mean by suffering change. You have to get a little bit of meaning of that. Once you know the meaning, then you have to identify the illustrations. Once you identify the illustrations, then you have to justify how these are suffering change. You're getting it? First of all, meaning. All what the ordinary beings identify as happiness. All what ordinary beings identify as happiness is suffering change. Don't forget it. We can be very comprehensive in this form. All experiences of feeling, all experiences which ordinary people identify as happiness is suffering. Number 1, suffering change. Is suffering change. Okay, what kinds of illustrations? What kind of illustrations? Now, having given the meaning, right? Any happiness that we consider as happiness, that we the ordinary beings we consider happiness. Any example? Okay, any example very quick? Some examples? What happiness? Happiness you get that you get out of eating momos. Then the cool, pleasant feeling that you get out of this acorn. What else? Then Sunday late sleep. Sunday late sleep, right? Okay, then what else? Then music. the joy that you get out of playing music, and the joy that the shopping malls, whatever. Okay, so these are examples of what we ordinary beings consider as happiness. Okay, so these, okay, we now know definite, not really definite, meaning that the experience of happiness, any feeling, experience of feeling, which the ordinary people consider as happiness, is suffering of change. One. Illustrations, for example, happiness, the joy that you get out of eating food, the joy that you get out of the getting positions, higher salary, getting a job, or whatever. All these are the illustrations that you can think of. Then the next question, how are these experiences of happiness suffering? This next question, right? How are these experiences of happiness suffering? Oftentimes, people think that, oh, Buddhism is very self-denial religion because Buddhism considers all these happiness as suffering, right? Okay. So, in what way these are suffering? This is the question. So, this, if we don't identify first suffering, three kinds of suffering. The first one is easy. Everybody identifies. Even the animals also identify this as suffering. Right? Hunger. Even the cats and dogs, even the insects, they don't want hunger. Okay. So this, we don't really have to put effort to identify them as suffering. The second one, happiness, which we consider as happiness, actually they are suffering. Right? How are they suffering? If we don't identify this as suffering, then the possibility for us, number one, let alone the possibility for us wanting to get out of, even this aspiration to get out of all our sufferings. Okay, if somebody's telling you, how many of you want to get out of all sufferings of your life? Sickness, aging, death, tension, depression, anxiety, anguish. How many of you want to get out of all the sufferings? Okay, so if we don't identify the suffering of change, what we experience as happiness to be suffering, there is no way by which we can get out of all these sufferings. That's sickness, aging, death. Even if nobody wants it, invariably they will arise. Invariably they will arise. Because we continue to accumulate negative karmas, which attract these. Why we accumulate negative karmas? Because of failure to see the suffering, failure to see what the ordinary people consider as happiness as suffering. Right? Okay. For that matter, don't force yourself. Some people, they force themselves. Okay. And then it becomes self-denial. First, we have to gain conviction. Once you gain conviction, then you go ahead. This is not a self-denial. Some people, what we do is that, okay, I'm now into Dharma, right? I will start going to Tibet house, into Dharma. Okay, now I cannot go with my friends. Go with my friends who go for disco, right? I cannot go with them. Okay, I cannot talk to them. And then put yourself, I'm in Dharma. Why you doing that? No, I'm in Tibet house in Dharma, right? So the people, right? People will get it, and then oftentimes say, okay, the boys, the girls, whoever, before coming to Tibet house, right? They look very smart, whatever. They dress very nicely, very nice. They come to Tibet house, right? They become so shabby, right? They become so shabby, right? Okay, shabby. Why? Because I'm in Tibet house. I'm in Dharma. Okay, so what I say is, okay, what you do is, Dharma is a mental process. It's not a physical process. Physically, what do? Keep yourself tidy, clean, how people see you as nice. Good. Maintain it. Maintain it, and inside change. How the ordinary people, they involuntarily pushed, easily affected by external factors, right? Easily you are just plunged into, say, the agitation, irritation. Stop that. Stop that through your internal practice. Physically, remain the same. Remain the same. Keep yourself tidy, clean, the same, whatever, the timing, and then of course the bad habits you can stop. But in terms of the keep yourself presentable, right? These are very important, very important. Okay, so with this, the point is that the suffering change. So how do we identify that these things are suffering change? What ordinary people consider as happiness, how they're suffering change, this question. In the first place, how they're suffering, then how they're suffering change. Number two. Okay, anyone? How we consider what we ordinary people consider as happiness to be suffering in the first place? How do we identify that? Only when we gain conviction. Only when we gain conviction, you have a tremendous confidence. With this confidence, right, then you realize that this all mental phenomena is nothing to do with the physical change. No need to change physically, right? And of course, the extreme sides, this we have to change, but otherwise, remaining very presentable, all these things, just maintain it. What's wrong with it? Okay, so the question is, how can we be convinced that what we consider as happiness, ordinary beings consider as happiness, is actually suffering? Anyone? Yes.
Because it's temporary.
Mic.
Because it's temporary and it won't last.
Okay, one, it is temporary and it won't last.
So
This
it's
was-
not ultimate happiness.
Okay, this happiness, right, is not a real happiness.
Not really.
It's not a lasting happiness, but it's happiness, temporary happiness.
That's too temporary and it depends on externals.
Still is not a problem. It's happiness, right? Okay, it doesn't last, it's fine. As long as it lasts, I'll enjoy it. Okay, anyone else? How this suffering?
By reflecting on it, that when it will last, it will give us the pain.
Okay, when it lasts, even while it lasts, it is a suffering, it gives us pain. How?
No, when it will finish, the pleasure will finish. When the pleasure will finish, it may causes the pain.
Okay, so which means more like what your name? More like what Ritu said. What Ritu said is it is very temporary. Temporary meaning it will not last long, which means the moment it finishes, then it goes into pain. Right? Okay. My question is how this meaning happiness, which we consider, which the ordinary people consider as happiness, is suffering. I'm not talking about how it will change into suffering later. How, when it comes to an end, then the suffering follows. If you say suffering follows, pain follows, after this means before this is not pain. So what we're saying is before this is a pain. Right? Okay, anyone?
Krishna, I think it's because we are never satisfied. We want more desires. Like if I've got
Okay, so
10 crores, I want 15. And
Okay.
it never ends. The desire to get more and more.
okay, so let's say that you have the happiness, you're enjoying it, and then the desire increases at that very moment or later on? Later on, right? So before that is happy. So before that, how it is suffering? This is the question. Yes, over there.
Because I think it's
Mike.
Krishna, because it's uncertain.
Okay, one, it is uncertain. Okay.
Even while we are enjoying it, we don't know whether in the next moment it will be available. The happiness.
Okay, I like your keyword uncertain. But the next moment is much more the same with what Ritu said, what Vivek just said, right? Next moment means that moment is happy. Right? That moment is happy, that moment is no suffering.
No,
So
but,
my question is how that moment is suffering. So what you said is uncertain. This is interesting part. Okay, the Taraji. So you don't forget your name? Mayank. What Mayank said is the uncertainty. This word, okay, I'm really hit by this. This is a very good word. Uncertain, right? Okay.
The essential nature itself is of suffering, of that happiness.
Okay, this happiness, the essential nature itself is suffering. How?
The moment when we focus on those happiness, when we are going to penetrating it to the essential nature, we are getting it as a suffering.
Okay, very essential nature. There's some, yes, this is a very important point. So we have to know how the essential nature is suffering. How? Okay, one here, your name, introduce yourself. Introduce yourself, your name.
I'm Prashant.
Prashant.
I think it's an unreliable source of happiness.
Okay, unreliable. Okay, wonderful. Okay, so one word, uncertain, unreliable. These two are very good. Okay, do you want a reliable happiness or unreliable happiness? No, so the moment unreliable happiness comes to you, this is the misery comes to your mind, right? So therefore, what Prashant said is really very meaningful. Unreliability, and then the uncertain, unreliable, uncertain. They are more the same, right? Okay, very good. This is one thing that we are the interesting. Okay, the vanilla.
We are forgetting.
Okay, Mike.
We are forgetting the reality, and we are getting very engrossed in the happiness, thinking it's permanent. So, if whenever the change will come, we rattle or we don't accept it. But if we live in reality and think about it, meditate on it every day, then maybe the change will not upset us.
Okay, this is again a very important point. Where we don't live in the reality, then we create an illusion. We don't live in the reality. In the process we're enjoying, what we call as enjoying, we're enjoying that very process, that very moment, we don't live in the reality. Which means that very process is entangled, contaminated by ignorance. Because we don't see the reality with this ignorance. Okay, the food mixed with soil. Who want to have the food mixed with soil? Delicious food mixed with soil. Mixed with soil, you don't want, right? We don't want. Okay, so the happiness, very moment, happiness mixed with the soil of ignorance. This was not desirable food. But the ignorant people, they see as a desirable food, right? We see desirable food. Whereas, if you see there's a food without this mixture of the soil of the ignorance, this is amazing. That is known as uncontaminated happiness. Happiness, there are two: contaminated happiness and uncontaminated happiness. So all happiness which we experience are all contaminated because they are contaminated by ignorance. You're getting it? By contaminated by ignorance. Okay, I'm not going to go into too detail into this part. This is something which requires a little bit of the further studies on the reality. What constitutes the reality, which is so important. If you get it, you get the whole meaning of your life. So what Vinila said, you get it, you get the whole meaning of life. You'll see that, wow, now I've found the meaning of my life, right? Now I know what's the true meaning of my life. You'll get it. Okay, this is a very important point. Okay, let's not forget these points. That's uncertain, unreliable, then the essential nature is of suffering. So how? That is explained by Vinila's answer. That very essential nature is mixed with ignorance by not seeing the reality. Okay, So and then more detailed explanation will come as a part of the, say, the attachment, aversion, and then the ignorance. Within the ignorance, we are talking about the 3 misconceptions. One word, misconception, misconceiving the impermanent phenomena to be permanent. Number 2, misconceiving miseries as happiness. Number 3, misconceiving the selfless nature, selfless phenomena as the selfhood nature, right? Okay, what Vinayji said is related to the third one, which is the how what we consider as happiness, contaminant happiness, they're essentially of the nature of suffering. How? So that will be explained in detail. What Vinayji said will be explained in detail in the third part. Okay, very good. Now, for this, we did that already, right? The 3 levels of suffering, we did already. Okay, now quickly, okay, let me give you one example. Okay, example which Yash said it, right? Okay, let's say that there are 2 prisoners, and they are to be taken care of by the 2 different prisons by 2 different prison guards. And the penalty, or what is called the sentence. The sentence is for both of them is capital punishment after 1 month, right? After 1 month. Okay, say after 6 months, let's say, or 1 year, after 1 year. And then the job of the prison guard is what? What is the job of the prison guard?
Take care that the prisoner does not run.
To take care that the prisoner gets good food, or to take care that the prisoner does not escape. Does not escape. This is the job, right? This is the job of the prison guard. Okay, so whatever the prison guard does is fine, right? The thing is that the prisoner should not escape. This is the job of the prison guard. Two prison guards, they employ 2 different techniques. The first prison guard A, he threatens, he creates fear. He tries to rule the prisoner by fear. Rule by fear, right? He creates fear. Okay, if you misbehave, I will not give you food, right? And then say, even in the cold, you have to sleep outside. You threaten, so that the prisoner, right, feels intimidated, fear, frightened. And the second prisoner creates a swimming pool in the prison, garden around it, right? And you say the what? And then when it's very, very hot, then aircon and good food. And sometimes the prison guard, he himself shows up and tries to give company in the swimming pool, give company in the tea, drinking tea together, right? Talk nice stories, sometimes yoga together. Okay, tell me, which of the 2 prisoners has a greater, the possibility, which of the prisoners to escape from the prison? Prison A or prisoner B? A. Why? Because he's always reminded that you are in prison, right? Hey, if you don't do this well, then I will not give you food. Your parents will never say this, right? People who love you will never say this. Even the strangers are not allowed to say this to you, but he's saying this because he has the authority, right? Oh, what authority? That is a prison guard. So I'm a prisoner. So he is always reminded of being a prisoner. But the second person forget that he's a prisoner. And then even if the parents, they release you on bail, he will not go out. 100% he will not go out. Because at home he doesn't have a swimming pool, right? At home the parents are very busy. They will not give you company to have a cup of tea with you. and they will not do yoga with you, right? So, which means a person forgets that the person is in prison, right? And then after 1 year, before 1 year, the first prisoner escaped. He disappeared. He escaped through digging a hole underneath, through the walls, right? This is how many of the prisoners escape, by digging holes, right? And then the second one is intact till the last day, right? And then tomorrow, my friend finish, right? Then he said, no, the first prisoner, he disappeared. Now I'm going to be killed tomorrow, right? Now he's into despair. He's traumatized. So, which of the, let's say, which of the two pain is greater? The pain of the fear created and then escaped, and the pain of the eventual death with the joys in before that? Which of the two pain is more acute? Second one is much more acute. If the second one is constantly reminded of being a prisoner, way before a whole 1 year, he will never have to go, he might not have to go through this persecution, right? He might have to go through this. What made him to go through this? Because of failure to see the prison as prison. Okay, this failure to see the prison as not as a prison, is that responsible for him to now go through capital punishment, through death? Yes, that is responsible. That is responsible. So what is responsible for your capital punishment? Is that good or bad? Is that good or bad? Very bad. Very bad, right? But you don't realize that very bad when you before the actual day, right? Because of ignorance. Whereas when you realize later, it's too late. Now you realize that the earlier moments, they are not really paradise. They are so vicious. They are so vicious. I saw that as a paradise. It was, I'm so ignorant. I'm fooled by this vicious trap. It's so vicious. Okay, so this is known as bait. Bait. What is bait? A trap. Okay, where do we use the bait? Where do people, okay, don't use the bait, right? Okay, where do people use the bait? Bait for what? That's for fishing, right? Fishing, so what is bait? The food there, rotten food or a fresh food?
Right.
Very delicious food. If it's a rotten food, no fish will come close there, right? So it must be very fresh and very delicious. So this is what traps the fish there, right? And even the animals, when they know that this is a trap, so there are so many food there, but this is a trap. If the animal knows that, wild animals, if they know that, they will not go close to that trap. They will not go close to that food. If they know that. So how do you just watch the National Geography when the animals are, the trap is put there. Animals, when they go close to the food, they're so cautious, right? To see whether this is a trap or it's a real food there, right? And they try to go in again, come out, because they're just wanting to check whether this is a trap or is a lucky food, right? And then finally, when they got there, trapped, then finish. Then they will not look at the food, right? They are not interested in food because they know that now it's a trap. This is a bait. This is not a real food, right? So therefore, the thing is, what we consider as suffering, happiness, is nothing. Is suffering because it is a bait. What is a bait? Bait is a good thing or a bad thing? Bad thing. Suffering nature. So therefore, this is to be seen as a bait. How bait? Okay, are we in nirvana or are we in samsara? And who forced you to samsara? Including myself. Who forced us to samsara? Ourselves. So what pulled us in samsara? The bait. What is a bait? Suffering, change. All what we consider as happiness. This is what is responsible for tripping us in samsara. You're getting it? Okay, so therefore this is a bait. This is number 2. Okay, number 3 was the third suffering. Pervasive condition suffering. Okay, now I'm not going to go detailed in this part, which we already did earlier. So those of you who joined Nalanda diploma course later, you have to listen to the early recordings. Unlike the Nalanda master's course, Nalanda diploma course, it is easier for you to catch up what you missed earlier. Okay. So now with this, what we are saying is that the 3 kinds of ignorance. First, seeing impermanent phenomena as permanent, seeing suffering as happiness. Okay, then number 3 is seeing selfless phenomena as the nature of the selfhood nature. Okay, now we are going to do the third one. Okay. Third one, this is very important. This is in relation to what the Dara Shankarji said and to what the Viniji said. Right? Okay, this part is very important. Okay, let's say okay, how many of you have seen rainbow in your life? How many of you have never seen rainbow, only heard about the rainbow? Like we all have seen. Okay, imagine that you are seeing a rainbow 1 kilometer away from where we are now, away from Tibet House. And imagine that there is a young boy with you, age 3 or 4. Both of you are seeing the rainbow 1 kilometer away from Tibet House. And then what will the young boy tell you? The young boy tells you, please take me there. Please take me there means, I want to play with the rainbow. Will you take the child to that place? Huh? Yes. Okay, so the point is, will you take the child to the place from where the rainbow appears? Will you take him there? You'll not. If you take him there, you're also a small child. While the small child asks you to take him there, because he thinks that if you go closer towards the place from where the rainbow appears, you can actually hold the rainbow and play with it. What happens if you go close to the rainbow? What happens? Rainbow disappears, right? You cannot play with that. The rainbow will disappear. Okay, so the rainbow, you saw the rainbow from where? You saw the rainbow. Did you see the rainbow at the place from where the rainbow arises? No, you saw it from a distance, not from where it is formed. You getting it? Okay, and so rainbow is the object. Object appears from the 1 kilometer away, and your mind is the subject which sees it. Object and subject. You getting it? Okay. How many of you have watched a movie in a movie theater? Maybe Titanic movie. Titanic, you have seen that in movie theater? Raise your hands. Titanic. Okay, how many of you watched a movie, any movie in your life? In a movie theater? How many of you have never seen a movie in a movie theater? Okay, we all saw. Good. Movie theater. Let's say you're watching a movie here. You're watching a movie on the screen here. And where is this movie coming from? From the projector. Where's the projector? Behind you. You getting it? So the movie, where's the movie? It's on the screen. Where's the movie? Is on the screen. Where is the movie coming from? From the screen or from the projector? Very good. The movie is on the screen, but it's not from the screen. Don't forget it. The movie is on the screen, but it's not from the screen. The movie is from the projector. And projector is not on the screen. projector is opposite direction with the screen. So the projector is behind you. So the screen is metaphor for the object, and the movie projector is metaphor for the subject, meaning your mind, right? So all what we are seeing, they are like the movies, and what sees them is your mind. Okay, now this is number 2 example. Number 3 example. How many of you dreamt of being chased by a ghost? Raise your hands. How many have never dreamt of a ghost chasing you? Or how many of you had nightmare in your dream? How many did not have nightmare in your dream? You don't know what nightmare in your dream is. Okay, we all have the nightmare in the dream. Let's say that we have a nightmare in the dream. Nightmare of, say, a neighbor, right, fighting with you, or neighbor about to kill you, or a ghost chasing you. Let's say ghost chasing you. A nightmare of ghost chasing you. Okay, that is the dream. Then, say, oftentimes when we dream of somebody chasing you and you are running for your life, oftentimes we fall, yes? And when you fall, it's so difficult to get up, yes? In the dream, right? Very difficult to get up. Okay, so you are struggling to get up, you cannot get up, and the ghost does not stop. Ghost just dashes against you, and then almost on the verge to get you, right? And then you think, what is your feeling? Wow, I'm lucky. Or so much of fear. Okay, now I'm done, right? So something like this happened to you in your life? With a ghost, or in a dream, ghosts, the wild animals, or say your neighbors, or any other person about to kill you like this. Did it happen to you in your dreams? Okay, for me it happened so many times. So there, now I'm done, right? When you say now I'm done, your mother wakes you up. When you say now I'm done, before he or she actually does something, right? Then your mother wakes you up. What's your feeling? Huh? Very relieved. Very good. Very relieved. Okay. Why did you have so much of fear in the dream? Why? Huh? Because you think the dream ghost is a reality, right? Dream chocolate is a reality, you feel joy. No fear. Dream ghost is real, then the fear arises. And why did you have so much of relief when you wake up? Huh? We know that we come to realize that the dream ghost was not real, it was a dream. Okay, tell me. The dream ghost, when you see the dream ghost as real, fear arises or relief comes to you. When you see the dream ghost as real, fear arises or relief comes to you. Fear arises. When you see the dream ghost as not real, as a dream, fear arises or the relief comes to you. And what do you want, fear or relief? If you want relief, you have to see the dream ghost as not real. Right? If you want to have the fear, you have to see the dream ghost as real. Now, seeing dream ghost as real, is that ignorance or this is wisdom? This is ignorance. So with the ignorance, fear arises. Seeing the dream ghost as not real, is that ignorance or wisdom? With wisdom. The wisdom gives rise to the relief. Freedom from fear. You're getting it? This is extremely important. Okay. When you wake up, you realize the dream ghost as not real. What do you mean by not real? The dream ghost as not real. What do you mean by not real?
It's coming from the mind.
It's coming from the mind. So mind is the subject or the object? Subject. You're getting it? Mind is the subject. In the dream, you saw the dream ghost as real, or it's coming from your mind in the dream as real. Real means object or subject? Object. You're getting it? Now, when do you realize that dream does not exist from the object? When do you realize? In the dream or when you wake up? When you wake up. When you wake up, you realize that the dream ghost is not real, it's coming from the mind, from the subject. In the dream, you see the dream ghost is coming from the subject or from the object? In the dream, you see the dream ghost is coming from the subject or from the object? From the object. In the dream, you see the dream ghost as objectively real. When you wake up, you see the dream ghost as subjectively real. You're getting it? Okay, this is a very important concept that we have to know. Only if you know this concept, then later on, you will see that you learn how everything is like a dream. Okay, let's say, what did you say? When you wake up, you see the dream ghost as subjectively real or objectively real? Okay, subjectively real. Another way of saying subjectively real is, okay, let's say, this flower, yes, this flower, this is mine. What does this mean? Very good, okay. So when I say that this is mine, it's a nice way of saying it's not yours. If I tell you yours, this is not yours, it's very offensive. But it's a verse say, oh yes, this is mine, right? It's a nice way of saying it is not yours. Not yours, not yours. Likewise, when I say that this flower exists subjectively real, or the dream ghost exists subjectively real, right? It is another way of saying that the dream ghost is not objectively real. Very good. Not and empty mean the same. Not and empty. Not objectively real, empty of objective reality. These two mean the same. You getting it? Okay, let's say this again. When I say that dream ghost does not exist, dream ghost exists subjectively, what is the implicit connotation of this? Dream ghost is empty of objective existence. Very good. So likewise, the Buddha said that everything is like a dream ghost. Everything is like a dream ghost, right? Everything is like a dream. Dream exists subjectively or objectively? Subjectively. Dream exists subjectively. In the dream, you think that dream exists as objectively, right? But in actuality, the dream exists subjectively. Now, if everything is subjectively real, the way the Buddha taught, then this flower exists subjectively or objectively. In case, if everything exists as subjectively real, as taught by the Buddha, then this flower should exist objectively or subjectively? Subjectively. When you say that this flower exists subjectively, implicitly you are saying what? This flower is empty of objective existence. So when you say emptiness, you must have heard about emptiness so many times. What does it mean by emptiness? It simply means emptiness of objective existence. You getting it? Emptiness of objective existence. And what's the benefit of this? What is the benefit of understanding emptiness of objective existence? Is that you will discover that nothing really exists from the object. They're all coming from our mind. The way when you just discover that the dream ghost is coming from our mind, your fear dissolves. All fears of your life will dissolve when you get the wisdom to know that everything is coming from the subject, nothing's from the object. You getting it? Okay. So here on I think we need one more session. I think we need one more session to go more into this detail. Okay. So now the point about to relate this directly with the eliminating the misconception of the selfless phenomena into the selfless phenomena to be of selfhood nature. For that, the selfhood meaning, in simple terms, selfhood meaning something existing objectively. Selfless meaning something which is empty of objective existence. You getting it? Okay, what is selfless phenomena, meaning phenomena which does not have objective self, objective existence. In actuality, nothing has objective existence, nothing has selfhood. Everything is of the nature of this selflessness. So this selfless nature meaning what? That things are empty of objective existence. You see them as objectively real. Selfhood meaning, selfhood is the objective existence, and selfless meaning empty of selflessness, empty of objective existence. Okay. So now with this, when you say in a very vernacular sense, in a mundane dream, when does one know the dream goes to be empty of selfhood? Empty of selfhood meaning empty of objective existence. When does one know that? In the dream or outside the dream? Outside the dream we know that. Okay. So when does one view the dream goes as of selfhood? Selfhood meaning objectively real. When does one see the dream goes as selfhood? In the dream or outside the dream? In the dream. So seeing something as of the selfhood meaning seeing something as objectively real, this is ignorance, and seeing something as of the selfless nature. Selfless, don't simply confuse the word with other connotations. Selfless has many connotations. One selfless meaning, the Mother Teresa works selflessly. Mother Teresa works selflessly. Right? So that connotation has nothing to do with the objective subjective. It simply means that very compassionately, right? With full consideration for others, with full love for others. This is the connotation. But selfless in this connotation, selfhood in this connotation is very different. Don't mix up the vocabulary. Vocabularies people may use the same vocabulary, but you must be able to contextualize the things. You're getting it? Okay, so with this, the point is that when we see things as selfhood, then the outcome is misery. Seeing the dream goes as real, seeing the dream goes objectively real, objectively of selfhood nature, fear arises. Seeing the dream goes as empty of objective existence, empty of selfhood, selfless nature. Seeing the dream goes as empty of selfhood, then what happens? Fear arises, or the relief comes to you. Relief comes to you, right? Okay. So this is the point that we did keep in mind, right? Okay. So the point is that how many of you okay, tell me, how many of you, when you see things on a day-to-day life, in the dream, in the daytime, when you see things, how many of you see things as objectively real? How many of you see things as objectively real? Or how many of you see things as subjectively real? Right? Cheesecake? Oh, this cheese is coming from my mind. The momos, they're coming from my mind. How many times it happened to you? Or sometimes in dream? Okay, in other words, the fact is that whether in the dreams or in the waking state, 24/7, we have been viewing things as all objectively real. You're getting it? We have been viewing things as all objectively real. So viewing things objectively real, this is ignorance or this is wisdom? This is ignorance. And the outcome of the ignorance is what? Fear or the relief from fear? Fear. You're getting it? So therefore, ignorance is responsible for all the fears. Now, going back to what Tara Shankarji said and what Viniji said, is that the happiness, okay, say happiness of promotion, right? Okay, how many of you feel excited over promotion? Okay, right, okay, let's say promotion, happiness of the promotion. Okay, happiness of promotion, what Tata Shankarji said is that this happiness, we consider this happiness, in actuality, if you probe deeply, we see that it is mixed with the soil of ignorance. Essentially, it is of suffering nature. It is of suffering nature, right? Say what Viniji said is that this is nothing but mixed with the ignorance. So how that is mixed with ignorance? When you see the promotion, how do you see the promotion? You see the promotion as objectively real, or is it just coming from your mind? Huh? Objectively real. So that is ignorance or that is wisdom? Ignorance. And how do you know that this ignorance? Seeing the promotion objectively real. How do you see that? How do you know that this ignorance? Okay, because it's not permanent. Or this class can say that you did not teach us yet. Right? So this will come later. Right? Okay, so this ignorance, this is the point what we have learned thus far is that everything is like a dream. Everything is like a dream, right? They're all, in what way everything is like a dream? So look, the different philosophers, they give the analogy, the metaphor of everything to be like a dream. The different philosophers, say the Chittamatra, Swatantra Madhyamika, Prasangika, all this, even the Buddhists, non-Buddhists, most of the philosophers, oftentimes they give the analogy of the dream, right? But to what extent you understand this analogy with the main referent as to what it really means, that can differ in subtlety. For that matter, we have to study these various philosophical schools in order to really understand as to in what way they give the example that everything is like a dream. Okay, so the point is that what we are trying to learn is that if we come to realize that everything is like a dream. Okay, well, I'd like to, how many of you thus far, although we did not really touch on this area, how everything is like a dream. Right? We didn't touch this area. But first tell me, in what way the analogy is given that everything is like a dream? In what way? So this flower, it exists. But this is like a dream. In what way this is like a dream? In what way? I'm not asking to prove that it's like a dream. This is not my question. My question is, in what way we give this analogy? This flower is like a dream. In what way the dream is the analogy for this flower? Anyone?
In the way it impacts you.
In the way
it impacts you.
It
impacts you as a.
It impacts you. Okay, this is interesting. Okay, it impacts you. Okay, this I like to discuss. This is a very important point. Way in the dream, right? Somebody brings a nice flower, and then it impacts you. Likewise, this flower also impacts you, right? Very good. Anyone else? From what we have learned thus far today, from there, in a way, what I'm trying to tell you is, let us try to summarize. Let us try to bring the conclusion of the summary of what we have learned today. Okay, in what way this flower is given the metaphor of dream. My question is not that how you can prove that this is like a dream. This is not my question. In what way this is given the metaphor of the dream?
It's not objectively real. It's not objectively real.
Oh, very good. Just as the dream comes from the subject, from your mind, which is subject, and is not independent of the mind, it's purely coming from your mind. Likewise, even this flower is also purely coming from your mind, not from the object. So therefore, just as a dream is purely subjective, this flower is also purely subjective. Just the dream is empty of objective existence, This flower is also empty of objective existence. And the next question is, how do you know that it is empty of objective existence? That we have to study separately. You getting it? Okay, very good. So with this, what we learned is that, what we learned today, what is very important related to the third level of the ignorance, is that everything is like a dream. How? Just as the dream exists subjectively, everything else exists subjectively. Just as the dream is empty of objective existence, everything is empty of objective existence. So seeing things as objective real, this is ignorance. Seeing things as empty of objective real, this is wisdom. So only with this wisdom, seeing things as empty of objective real, that is the final remedy to overcome all our problems. Because the moment you wake up from the nightmare of the dream, all the problems that you had in your dream will automatically come to an end. You getting it? Okay. So I'm sure there's one question. But this question, I'm looking for a very precise question. I have this in my mind, right? I want somebody, if you can guess what this question is. In other words, that's what we learned. From there can be one question which can be quite challenging with respect to what we have learned today. Anyone who can think of such a question? Yes, over there.
Is this not going to
Okay. Introduce yourself.
My name is Ershad. My question is this not going through extreme subjectivism?
Okay, this is a good question. This is a very good question. Is it not taking us to extreme subjectivism? This is a very good question. So for that matter, if you could remember, what we said is that we have to study the different philosophical schools. You're getting it? Different philosophical schools. Some schools, how they present things like a dream. We can see that they are really going to extreme subjectivism, which is closer to us, Chittamatra school. And then the next comes this Svatantra Madhyamika, which can help us greatly take away from the extreme subjectivism. And then Prasangika, it so beautifully weaves the conventional acceptance of the world with the very profound philosophy of subjectivity. Right? So this will come later. This is a very good question. Okay, one over there, introduce yourself.
My name is Aditya Sood.
Aditya, yes.
My question is, we are always talking about the mind, okay, and thoughts, afflictions, everything. Everything is in the mind. Where is the mind located in the body? Or the head? Because every time you speak, you say the mind and brain. So, because how I correlate it as that if you finish off the mind, because in Buddhism I think it is said that it is the mind which takes the rebirth.
Yes. So what's
the mind which takes the rebirth.
So this
all the experiences of the past births stored in the mind, and the mind takes the rebirth.
So where is the mind? This is your question?
My question.
Where does it locate? Where is that located? This is your question.
Where is it located? Because there's an intellect, there's a brain, there's a mind. If we correlate it with the skull or somewhere in the head, and in Hinduism it is said the soul or the Atma takes the rebirth. So, because if there is something called the mind, if this subject matter is in the mind, everything, all thoughts, emotions, everything subjective, objective is in the mind. Then if you remove that thing from your inner thing, then everything is finished. That is your nibbana. That is your emptiness. Let
us not go too far. Let us not go too far. First, we have to learn more. First, get more information rather than speculating too much. Then it becomes nirvana, then we become empty. Let us not go too far. What is important is learn. Learn. When we learn, it is not necessary that you have to accept what is being said, what is being taught. Not necessary, right? Always I'm asking questions to you. Did you follow? Did you agree? I never said that. Okay, do you follow? I never said that you have to follow, right? Did you follow meaning? Did you understand it? or do you agree? Do you disagree? This should be the procedure. The point is, first we have to learn more, get more information. Get the information. What is nirvana? Oh, such an extensive explanation is found as to what constitutes nirvana. And again, even with nirvana, which is a very esoteric concept, even that it is not necessary for us to take it blindly. There's always rationality there. You will be so convinced that, wow, it's amazing, right? So we have to learn, get more information, learn more. What we learned earlier, 3 levels of the wisdom. Wisdom drawn through learning, wisdom drawn through reflection, wisdom drawn through meditation. Conviction, finally we have to gain conviction, not just that I heard from this tradition, I heard from that tradition, I heard from Tibetan Buddhism tradition, I heard from Chinese Buddhist tradition, I heard from Hinduism, I heard from... This is, the accumulation information. Once you accumulate the information, your job is to subject them to analysis. Subject analysis, with a very refined analysis, then you will gain a conviction. Once you gain the conviction, this conviction will be unwavering. Nobody can shake this conviction. Whereas if you simply, okay, this is what I learned from Tibetan Buddhism, what I learned from Chinese Buddhism, I learned from Hinduism, I learned from the Islamic tradition, Judaism. If you say like this, you will never get conviction. The point is that you have to gain conviction. To gain conviction, you can get information from anywhere. Get information, subject these to analysis, and then you will get conviction. Once you gain conviction, the point is not for you to tell others that I got conviction, what you're saying is wrong. This is not your job. Your job is to gain conviction and seek your happiness. This is the point. So the question is, what is the location of the mind? One question. Then the second question can be whether or not this mind can be eradicated. If this mind can be eradicated, then all what we're talking about, all suffering, miseries, all these things, they're all coming from the mind, then the misery automatically stops. Then there could be nirvana, right? So first question is, where does the mind locate? Where is it located? Number 2 is whether or not we can eradicate the mind altogether, right? 2 questions. Okay, the first question, where the mind is located. So there, precisely, we have to study the Buddhist psychology. We have to study the Buddhist psychology, which, of course, in what we are doing, now in the diploma course, there is going to be a very brief explanation there on Buddhist psychology. Detailed study of the Buddhist psychology, this is what? 10 systems. Okay, there is a book like this which we compiled, Buddhist psychology. We have to study that. Just by reading it will not help you. Somebody must have to explain this. So detailed explanation of Buddhist psychology we will do during the master's course, right? Okay, so the point is to give you a very quick explanation about the location. The mind, we have to first see, it is not that, where are the human beings? Human beings, are they in Tibet house or they are outside Tibet house? Where's the location of human beings? You tell me. Huh? No, I did not ask you if you or not. I asked you whether in Tibet house or outside Tibet house. On both. Human being is it's split into 2. Okay, so the point is that human beings who are associated with knowledge diploma course, they are inside Tibet house. Human beings who are within Delhi, who are not directly involved with diploma course, they are outside Delhi, right? We can split diploma course without diploma course. Likewise, the mind, we can split into the mind which is directly related to the senses, and the mind which is not directly related to the physical senses. The ones which are directly related to the physical senses are known as the sensory consciousness, and the mind which are not directly related to the physical senses are known as the mental consciousness. For the mental consciousness, that is like the hub. of the sensory consciousness. Sensory consciousness, somehow they arise out of this mental consciousness. Within the mental consciousness, again we see that that some exists when we are alive. Some exist, some disappear when we are in the process of dying. You're getting it? Again, within that, we see that there's some which are more stable and some which are less stable within the mental consciousness. So the point is that from the subtlest version of the mind, mental consciousness, that the location is set at the heart. At the heart, and not the biological heart. Not the biological heart. It is which in the Buddhism, Hinduism, and in Jainism, the heart chakra. At that is the spot where the subtlest mental consciousness resides. Then from there it becomes grosser and spreads throughout your body. Okay, so this is the one question. Then the next one is about the termination of the mind, whether or not the mind can be terminated. We can get rid of the mind altogether. Okay, for that we need to think of the mind versus the physical body. What we have is the mental consciousness, mind, and the physical body. Physical body, when somebody dies, when I die, the body will be cremated or buried. Right? Okay, so when that happens, this body, human body, ceases. But the human body, which is constituted of millions of atoms, they will not cease. They will continue as atoms. They will continue as atoms, electrons, protons. Although it may cease to remain as a human body, but the constituencies of this body, electrons, protons, neutrons, they will all keep continuing. So since, according to physics, since the time of Big Bang, it existed, and it will keep going like this. It will never annihilate. At the most, the material bases, they will turn into energy. So either it will take the form of physical particle, or it will take the form of the energy. So these two are interchangeable, but as the base substrate, it will never disappear. Likewise, if this is with the physical body, if this is the nature of the physical body, which never annihilates altogether, likewise this mind will never annihilate. So therefore, instead of thinking of getting rid of the mind altogether, right? Think of change the mind from the negative to the positive, and forever you become a very happy person. And rather than remaining as a numb without the mind, instead of that, you become a very happy person, able to benefit all sentient beings. This is far better. And better not, even this is something to consider. Even the other part, removing the mind, this is not possible. The fact is, this is the very nature of the mind. Whether, whosoever came on this earth, right? It is not that somebody dictates. This is a reality. Nobody can dictate the nature of the atoms. Atoms exist in nature as something which is constituted of the electrons, protons, neutrons. That's a reality. Buddha can discover it, cannot invent it. Likewise, any other teachers, they can discover it, they cannot invent it. This is a reality. Likewise, the mind nobody can annihilate this mind. This mind, the very nature of the mind is to continue eternally, right? Continue eternally, and if you are successful in our practice, then the mental defilements like the gold and the soil, gold mixed with the soil in the gold ore, right? Which is not really useful thing, but experts will remove the soil and the gold will come out. That gold is so precious, very useful, very precious. Likewise, our mind, there's nothing wrong with it. Only thing is that the mind is mixed with the soil of the mental defilements. So if you put effort to remove the mental defilements, in any ways, this mind cannot be eradicated. Mental defilements can be eradicated. When the mental defilements are gone, then the pure gold comes out. Don't throw this pure gold. This is so precious, right? So our mind, each one of us, we have this incredible treasure of ultimate happiness. right? So that is by removing the metal dirts. Okay, good. Okay, there's maybe one pressing question there, and then we'll stop here. Yes. Introduce yourself.
My name is Han. Rachel, I have a question. We were talking that everything exists from the mind. So what happens if we lose our mind or we get a disease or something?
Okay, when you become, when you faint.
No, like Alzheimer or something.
Alzheimer. Okay, okay. When one goes to dementia, Alzheimer, then you lose the memory. Okay, this is a good question. Thank you. Don't worry about the world. The world will continue. Only problem is your family. Your family will have a problem, right? Okay. With Alzheimer's, your family will have a problem. The world will continue. Delhi traffic will continue. Delhi pollution will continue, right? If we suffer from Alzheimer's, if the Delhi pollution stops, amazing. Right? Delhi pollution will continue. Okay, the point is, okay, to make it very quick, the mind will never go away, right? Even in the Alzheimer's, the mind is there, but the mind is in a passive state, right? Okay, same. Okay, if in my teaching is like, okay, now take out the book, right? Okay, now ignorance. Ignorance is defined as a mind which does not see the reality. Then you may ask me, what is reality? Well, reality is, right? It's so passive, so inactive, so boring, right? So although I'm very boring in that state, but I still exist. Don't say that I don't exist. So mind can be very passive, but still the mind exists. Mind exists in a very passive state. Alzheimer, forgetfulness is also a mental state. Dementia, you forget things. Forgetfulness is also a mental state. Mental state which picks up things, releasing for example, say, right? Okay, I want to speak through a mic. And where's the mic? Right? Actually, mic is there, right? I've not say some people they put on the glasses, they're looking for the glasses. How many of you did that? Right? This is what we do. Okay. So the point is that they say what happens is that we forgetfulness, dementia, and so forth, the memory disappears. Memory actually does not really disappear altogether. The brain responsible for activating the memory, brain synaptic connections, and the neurotransmitters responsible for the active firing of the neurons for the memory to be activated, these neurons are inactive. Because of these, then memory, you cannot have the active state of the memory coming up. When you don't have the active state of the memory, then what we call as, okay, now I don't remember, where I am. Am I in UNO? UNO, what is that? Secretary, no, what is that council? There are so many councils.
U.S. Security Council.
General Assembly. Okay, am I in UNO General Assembly? Or am I in the Parliament? Or am I in Tibet House? Right? So there you have lost the memory. You have lost the memory. But then, am I? Who's saying this? Your mind is saying this. Your mind is in a very inactive state. It is still there. You have to say that you have a memory loss, not the mind loss. Mind is still there. Now the question is, when somebody is going through vegetative state, when somebody is going through coma, so whether or not the mind is there. So the answer is, mind is still there. And oftentimes when we see somebody as in a vegetative state or in a coma, in actuality the person's mind is very active. Only thing is coordination is not happening. Coordination between the mind and the muscles is not happening. So the brain part, which is responsible for the muscles muscles to activate, to remain active, your eyes to open and so forth. All these muscles, they remain, they're shut down. So we see the person as in coma state. But the mental consciousness is still very active. The person can hear what is being taught, what is being done around. The person is so actively knowing these things. But because the muscles are not working, from outside we see the person as in a coma state. In actuality, not. Many cases. And many other cases that the person actually is a coma, where the person really doesn't have this memory. So in the Buddhist psychology, with a subtle psychology presentation, there is one state which is described as the state of the mindlessness, meaning that there's no mind. Meaning, it doesn't mean that there's no mind. This is just a label given. Label given, say the mother and the child. If the child is very naughty, then the mother would say that you are not even a human being. Of course, he's a human being. Right? Look at how you do. This is not how the human beings do. You're not even a human being. He's still a human being. But just given the label that you are not a human being. Likewise, just the label is given. That is the state of the mindlessness, or the state where there's no mind. Absence of mind, referring to the absence of active mind. Okay, we'll stop here for the quick derogation prayer. Kusala, konyi chabista. Okay, page 278. Okay, page 278. In the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All powerful generous say, Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. Just as the brave Manjushri and Samantha too realize things as they are. Also, I dedicate all these merits in the best way that I may follow their perfect example. I dedicate all these roots of virtue with the dedication praised as the best by the victorious ones, thus gone of the three trines, so that I might perform the noble Bodhisattva's deeds. May the Supreme Bodhicitta that has not arisen arise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish but increase forevermore. Chanjo Sanjo Remboche Bhagya Bhanam Gyoche Gyabanya Bhamya Kone Kondo Pemaishu. As long as space remains, as long as sentient links remain, until then they are true remain to dispel the miseries of the world. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I freely attain the state of a Guru Buddha and lead all beings without exception into their enlightened state. I dedicate the merit thus gathered towards the realization of the deeds and the prayers Bodhisattvas of the three times, and to the upholding of the Dharma of the teaching and realization. May I all life through the force of this merit, never separate from the four wheels of the Mahayana vehicle, and accomplish all the stages of the path of renunciation, bodhicitta, perfect in the two stages. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate a mind of full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge to the Triple Gem. I confess the negative. I hold the precious Buddha in my heart. The path of union of emptiness and compassion is loosely explained by the protective Buddha Dharma and the beings in the snowland. You are the lotus soul of the Tenzin Gyatso. We supplicate you that your wishes are fulfilled spontaneously. May the operations of evil thoughts and deeds of the negative forces of humans or non-humans who have managed through perverted prayers against the teachings of the Buddhas be truly vanquished through the power of the truth of the three jewels. in all my lives, never separate from perfect gurus, enjoy the magnificent Dharma by completing the qualities of the stations and the paths, may I quick attain the state of Vajradhara. Throughout my future lifetimes, may I always be guided by the Manjushri and be able to uphold the Dharma in general and the teachings of the dependent Origination, even in the course of my mind. Okay.